Hey guys, it's me again, Graceful Jan Kamanse, and for today's vlog, we're going to talk about geological fold and what it's important in civil engineering discipline. In geology, a fold is a step of original planar surface such as sedimentary strata that are curved or bent during a permanent deformation.
Folds are created when two plates that makes the earth crust collide. As the plates are forced together, they bend, curve, or make a jagged pattern in the rocks.
There are many different kinds of fold, but we will tackle all about the three most basic. This is the monoclines, anticlines, and the synclines.
Monocline is the simplest type of fold. They consist of a dip or drop in an area of flat or sloping rock and look like a single step. Older rocks are found at the bottom of the monoclines and the newer ones on its top. Anticlines are folded rocks that arc upward and dip away from the center of the fold. The oldest rocks are at the center of an anticline and the youngest are dropped over them. When rocks arc upward to form a circular structure, that structure is called a dome. A syncline is a fold that bends downward, causing the youngest rocks are to be at the center and the oldest rocks on the outside. When rocks bend downward in a circular structure, that structure is called basin.
Thus, a formation physical effects produced in rocks due to foldings are very important in civil engineering point of view, particularly in location of dams, reservoir, tunneling, quarrying, roads, and railways. These effects are also important in the occurrence of groundwater, oil, and gas, and some economically important ore deposits. Have you ever tried to break a caramel bar in two, but may only bend or stretch off like a candy bar? Many types of rocks can bend or fold, but beyond a certain point, each rocks will break when enough stress builds up into the rocks, and that breaks, we call it a fault.
A fault is a break in the crust or slab of a crust that slip past one another, and they can usually occur along the plate boundaries, where forces of plate motion can either compress, they can pull, or they can shear past the crust so that it breaks.
And now, I have here two blocks and I will demonstrate to you the three types of fault.
There are two blocks here that will represent the plate tectonic of the Earth. If we connect these two blocks, the cracks that form in the center will represent the faults. Before we will start, we will determine first the hanging wall and the footwall to determine the movement of the fault. The hanging wall is this block and the footwall is this block. So the hanging wall and the footwall. The first type of fault is the normal fault, where the motion of this fault is caused by a tensional force. The block above the inclined fault moves down relative to the block below the fault. The second type of fault is the opposite of the normal fault, where the motion of this fault is caused by compressional force and results in shortening. The block above or the hanging wall moves up to the block below the fault. The last type of fault we talk about is a strike-slip fault. And when you have a strike-slip fault, there is no hanging wall or footwall. As you can see, the fault line is the gap between the blocks, and it's basically straight up and down. And so, if you have put compression on it, nothing's happened. The movement with this fault is the shearing, so the blocks can be slide side to side.
The selection of sites affected by the various engineering structure are a very large presence of faults, as they affect the safety of facilities and pose a significant risk to it. To provide an earthquake-proof structure, it is necessary to have a knowledge of the location and earthquake potential of faults. This is of particular importance in locating sites for dams, reservoir, hydropower structures, underground power, nuclear stations, tunneling, public buildings, and schools.
Faults are important for a civil engineer in that these mark the site where dislocation of the ground has occurred in the past and where such dislocation cannot be entirely ruled out in the future. It is the dislocation aspect which may introduce considerable complications in the sites for a proposed engineering project. This may necessitate thorough investigation for the stability of the intended project.
That's all for my blog. I hope you learned something. Like and comment.